And here we are at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia for the wrap-up of the Clemson, South Carolina game, Palmetto Bowl number 118. Tonight here in Columbia, coverage brought to you by the Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl coming up in just a couple of weeks in Myrtle Beach. The best high school football players in South Carolina will do battle at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. Make sure you get your tickets now. Well, Clemson wins it 30-0, shutting out the Gamecocks for the first time since 1989 right here in Columbia that night. That was the first game that Sparky Woods coached in the series for South Carolina. This was the first game that Shane Beamer coached in the series for South Carolina. And more of the same in terms of the offense. Very little tonight for South Carolina against a fabulous Clemson defensive effort. And we knew coming in that it was going to be tough for South Carolina to move the football against this Clemson defense. They were going to have to be creative. They're going to have to block extremely well. They're going to have to get some great play from their quarterbacks. None of that happened tonight for South Carolina against Clemson. Then offensively, the Tigers were very efficient. I thought Tony Elliott called an excellent ball game. They came out with two running backs, and they felt they could run the ball on South Carolina and take the pressure off of Uiagalelei at quarterback and not put him in a position to have to make huge plays and force the football, and that's exactly what they did. It was a game that Clemson just pounded the ball on the Gamecocks on the ground. They were very efficient, and the result was, in the combination with the play of the defense, another dominating win for the Tigers now. That's 7 in a row for Clemson over South Carolina. That ties the Tigers' longest winning streak in the series, matching the streak they had back in the 1930s. And the Gamecocks have not scored a touchdown now against Clemson since the fourth quarter of that 2018 game when a guy named Jake Bentley threw a touchdown pass to a guy named Shi Smith. Of course, they didn't play last year, and in 2019, the Gamecocks had a field goal. So it's been a long offensive drought for South Carolina against the Tigers. Tigers go to 9-3, and they've improved their bowl stock a lot over the last month. South Carolina drops to 6-6, but the Gamecocks will go bowling. And Shane Beamer, who apologized to the fans for tonight's performance, he was hoping for better, but he also knows that being bowl eligible is a major accomplishment for this team, and indeed it is. And the extra work they'll get in practice will be big, and indeed it will be. And it'll also help them on the recruiting trail. There were 3 rushing touchdowns in the game for Clemson, and they were of 24 yards by Shipley, make that 29 yards by Shipley, 34 yards by Pace, and then Maffa, a late 6-yard run. And then Potter had 3 field goals for the Tigers. He was very good with his leg tonight. Clemson, 364 total yards, 265 on the ground. Shipley had 128. That matches the young man's career high. He is the 8th running back this season to record a game of over 100 rushing yards against the Gamecocks. Uiagalelei was 11 of 19 for 99 yards. So with the Tigers effective on the ground and with their defense so dominant and not having to take too many chances, they did not have to call on Uiagalelei to win the game with his arm. USC had just 206 yards, averaged 3.3 yards per play, and only 43 rushing yards. They averaged 2.2 yards on the ground. They started, of course, with Jason Brown at quarterback, and he was largely ineffective. He could not find receivers. He could not hit his receivers. There was no running game to turn to. He was under pressure. Gamecock quarterbacks were hurried 9 times. They were only sacked 1 time, but he did throw 2 interceptions, Jason Brown did. One of them, he took a shot to the goal line. The Gamecocks were about midfield. Took a shot for Josh Vann at the goal line, intercepted by Andrew Booth. Booth had 2 interceptions and dropped a 3rd. He played a really good defensive game for Clemson tonight. And the Gamecocks did not cross the Clemson 40-yard line until the last meaningless series of the game, when they actually got to the 3 on the last play, and that was a scramble by Zeb Nolan, who came in to replace Brown in the fourth quarter. and threw the ball, pretty well, but not for a whole lot. But he did get the Gamecocks down the field there, but had to scramble in the last play of the game, and he was tackled at the 3 as Clemson preserved the shutout. About 80,000 fans in attendance tonight here at the Williams-Brice Stadium. The Gamecock fans were hopeful that they could be competitive against Clemson. And, the Gamecocks, even though they couldn't do anything on offense, the defense was grudgingly giving up ground and points. It was still, if the Gamecocks could have done anything on offense, the game was not really put away until the latter portions of it. And South Carolina tried to hang in there as best it could, but the Gamecocks just did not have any offensive punch against the outstanding Clemson defense. And the Tigers played without Xavier Thomas tonight. Hamstring injury for him. They also played without E.J. Williams, who apparently was not ready to go tonight either. Sure, those guys will be ready to go by the time they get to their bowl game. So to sum it up, what looked like a disappointing year for Clemson has ended on a positive note in the regular season with 5 straight wins. Yes, it's disappointing for Clemson anytime the Tigers don't win the ACC championship and don't go to the playoffs, because that's where they are as a program. So, yes, a level of disappointment, yet a level of satisfaction that this team did not cave this year. And it does look like they have turned a corner with Uyangalele. Yes, he still has a ways to go, but he was very efficient tonight, I thought. Maybe because he just didn't feel the need to be the man. They didn't have to have him to be the man. So Clemson has a chance, despite everything that's gone on this year, to have another 10-win season. Pretty amazing considering how things have gone this year, and also consider that all their losses were very close ones. So, but they also had some close wins. Now for the Gamecocks, they win 6 in the regular season, twice as many as they were projected to win. They beat Florida. They beat Auburn. Those are things to be relished by this Gamecock football team, and they are going to a bowl game, something that was not projected for them. So they do have a lot to feel very good about. And Shane Beamer, in his post-game comments, was direct and to the point in congratulating Clemson, acknowledging how good they are and that they're not going away. But he also said they've made progress and they are a program that will not be going away and will be getting better and better as the years progress. And he plans to recruit. And as far as anything with the coaching staff, which is something that's always talked about when some areas aren't performing at a very high level, he said he did not have anything to say after the game. And after at some point in time, maybe after this live recruiting period is over in a couple of weeks, he plans to meet with USC administration to talk about things to make the program better. And of course, if you're a head coach and you evaluate things, you have to improve yourself in areas where you are weak. Does that mean firing coaches and trying to bring in somebody better? Absolutely. I mean, it's just something you have to do as a head coach. You have to take that responsibility on. You have to man up. And if you can find somebody better who you think has a better idea, whether it's an offensive coach or a defensive coach or position coach, whatever the case may be, you've always got to be looking to improve yourself. You cannot make the mistake of trying to protect coaches who are friends of yours. And I know loyalty goes a long, long way, but you have to be careful about that. There is something to be said for loyalty, but you also have to be very smart and make sure that you're always improving yourself in terms of your coaching staff. Not suggesting that Beamer plans to do that. He may not do anything, or he might make some changes. Only time will tell. But it is pretty obvious that the Gamecock offense needs a lot of work. Whether or not Marcus Satterfield is the man to run the offense and has the right ideas to make this offense work remains to be seen. I will say that it was not a very creative game plan tonight, at least to me. Now, maybe Clemson's defense had a lot to do with that, but there were not a lot of, there were no real trick plays. There was one. It was a pass, and it failed. But otherwise, it was pretty basic, runs up the middle and things like that just weren't going to get it done against this Clemson defense. Maybe nothing he could have dreamed up would have gotten it done tonight against this Clemson defense. So we'll see what happens from there with Shane Beamer and his coaches if he decides to make any changes. So the regular season is over. There are no conference calls tomorrow. But on our website, we've got post game from both locker rooms, Clemson and USC. You can hear from coaches and players there. We'll all gather together on a Monday night on Sports Talk. We'll take your phone calls, get your reaction to this 118th edition of the Palmetto Bowl for the 7th straight year. It goes to the Clemson Tigers. Once again, the kings of the state of South Carolina. Clemson winners tonight over South Carolina in Columbia, 30-0. Thanks for checking us out here tonight from Williams-Brice Stadium. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday night on Sports Talk.